Okay, so today we're going to go over the classic email builder and we're going to go over the new Lightning drag and drop builder. So as we go through and I show you the email template builders, I will be providing, tips and best practices along the way. So what I normally like to do first is come in here and create a campaign, especially if you're just starting out. You want to use a test campaign. So what I normally do for customers, I select the new button, come here and I create a test campaign. That way you're associating all your test stuff you're going to be doing with a test campaign. So it's not messing up metrics for your real campaigns that you're going to be doing. So when you create the campaign, definitely recommend having a good naming structure in place here for your campaigns. Just don't name them whatever. That way everyone's on the same page and it's going to be easier to find things later if you do have a good naming convention in place. Also, you want to make sure you check this box for active. That's key here because this is a Salesforce campaign. And so in order to sync down and for Pardot to have insights and things like that to this campaign, this checkbox is crucial. Now, as far as the type, I'm just going to go ahead and select other here. And status, I'll go ahead and just do in progress. But let's just say this was a campaign you were planning on doing in the future. You could just come in here and mark it as planned. Then once it's done, you can mark it as completed. But since this is a test campaign, it's going to be ongoing. So I'll just go ahead and leave it in progress. And then for the start date, I'll just put today. And then that's really it that we need here to fill out. If this was a real campaign, you would probably want to have a description. That helps out too, especially as you have more and more campaigns, because eventually you might have hundreds of campaigns, right? So having a good description to describing, what is this campaign designed to do? Why did you create it? So we'll go ahead and select save. And now I've just created a test campaign. So when I have emails going out that's related to this campaign, it'll show up here in the related items here. And then you can kind of see your metrics at a high level here at the campaign. Then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the prospects tab and we're actually going to create a prospect record. All right. And the reason I'm doing this is because you want to make sure you're adding yourself to the internal test list that Pardot has given you already to do your testing. So can't stress that enough. Test, test, test. Now I'm just going to make up some dummy data here. So I'll just go ahead and put email. And then we'll just put last name test. And then we'll just do email at test.com. But you would put in your real information, and this is how you would actually create a real prospect also. So let's just say you got someone's name from somewhere, maybe a referral, word of mouth, or maybe you got their business card and you wanted to add them to your Pardot.org. Well, this is how you would do it, just a one-off ad. So I'm just going to fill out the minimum requirements here. And then I'll just choose like Salesforce Sync campaign. It really doesn't matter which campaign you choose at this point. Just probably a test campaign would work because this is just going to be your own personal prospect record that you're going to use to test. And then default for my profile. And then if we expand the list here, here's where we can choose our internal test list. So again, make sure that you're adding yourself to this test list. And I'm going to show you even more why we're doing this when we get to the email builder. So I'll go ahead and select create prospect. And now I have a prospect in the database that's on the internal test list. Then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the Pardot email tab and we're going to access the classic builder. So you automatically land on the templates tab here. And then you have two different types. You have published and you have your drafts. So with the published means it's done working on it. It's good to go. It's ready to be used. However, with the drafts, that means you're still working on it. It's not ready yet, and Pardot will not even let you use it to send out. So it has to be published in order for you to send out this template. So it doesn't matter which button you click on over here on the right, it takes you to the same place. We'll select add email template. And then just like any other assets within Pardot, you're always going to have to give it a name. You're going to have to put it in a folder. And you're going to have to associate the campaign. So that's why I went created the campaign first. So usually it's best practice to just create the campaign first because when you get to this point, you're going to have to choose. Now, once you get to this point, let's just say you haven't created a campaign yet. Well, we can use a placeholder and you can put in a campaign here, but just make sure before this goes live and you send out this actual template that you have the right campaign associated with it. So your metrics can be associated with the correct campaign. So I'm just going to hit cancel here for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and give our email template a name. So I'll just say test email demo. And then as far as the folder, Now it's putting it in this uncategorized email templates folder that you see here, but you can create your own folder structure. This is really not the place to create that folder structure. This is more of the place to create a folder on the fly if need be. So if we just wanted to create a simple test folder to put all our test stuff in, we could do this. We select save. Now we got a test folder. So now I can put in all my test email templates that I'm going to be doing in this test folder. And then we'll go back and we'll choose our test campaign that we just created. And sometimes you see how when I got to this point, I'm starting to type in the name of my campaign and it's not coming up. And that's usually because when you go create that campaign here on this tab, this is actually a Salesforce campaign, as I mentioned, sometimes it takes a while to sync down to Pardot. So you might not see your campaign right away when you go create your assets, but just give it some time and it will show up. So just for the demo purposes for today, I'm just going to go ahead and choose one of these other campaigns. These are all just test campaigns in my dev org anyway. And by the way, this is just a dev org. It's not no live data or anything like that. So these are all just dummy accounts and test stuff that I've been playing around with. So I'll just go ahead and select our website tracking for now. And then email type. We usually recommend just leaving this at HTML and text, even if it's just going to be a regular text email. Just how Pardot calculates opens and able to see who opens emails. There's a little pixel that's loaded in the HTML. So if you don't choose HTML here and you only do text, then that pixel don't get loaded. So Pardot really can't detect opens, and we have to rely more on someone clicking on a link in the email to try to see if they indeed actually opened it. So just recommend leaving it at HTML and text. Available for, if you notice, by default, this one-to-one is not checked. So if you do check this one-to-one, this will allow your Salesforce users from the Salesforce side to send a one-to-one email to their leads or contacts using this marketing email template that you've created here in Pardot. If you don't want them to be able to use this template on the Salesforce side to send that one-to-one, then you leave this unchecked. List emails. This is if you're going to send out a blast email to a list, right? You have different segmentation lists you're going to create, and you might want to use this template to send out to that list. Autoresponder, this is like if someone submit a form, you could have an email go to their inbox that says something like, thank you for filling out this form. Someone will contact you. Or if you're using gated content, this is where you could have your gated content go to their inbox. Maybe they submitted a form to sign up for a PDF or a white paper or something. So that's what an autoresponder is. And then engagement program, this is if you want to use this template, and the engagement studio. So that's where you can build out like a journey or a cadence. Some people call it a drip campaign or a nurture program. But basically, it's where Pardot can be automatically sending out these templates for you. So you could set up something like send out the email, wait 3 days, send another email, wait 5 days, send another email, things like that. So that's where automations come in at. All right, we're going to go ahead and select save. And now here's all of the out-of-the-box layout templates that Pardot has for you. Now, with the new Lightning drag and drop builder, there's no pre-built layout. So you're pretty much starting from scratch. But if you decide to go with this classic builder, you can explore all of these different options. Now, if you are going to use one of these, we recommend using the responsive ones. So in the upper right, in the search, we start typing in responsive, and here's the unresponsive. So if you notice, we got some 2 columns here. We got some basic ones. We also, if you go back, there are some 3 columns. So if you want to explore that option, we got simple ones, things like that. So just something to play around with here. And all these are layouts. That's it. You're going to go in and customize and make it your own. You're going to put your own branding, your own logos, your own text, things like that. This just gives you a layout, something to work with in case you don't know, how you want to start off building your email templates. Now, let's just say you're using another marketing automation tool. Maybe you're coming from HubSpot or MailChimp or Constant Contacts or something. You want to bring in a full custom HTML template, or you use another third-party tool. Well, you could select skip here. You don't have to choose a layout. And it takes you to the builder. And then you could just go straight to the HTML tab, and you can remove what's in here and copy and paste your own custom HTML template. And then you can just use the editor to get the look and feel that you want. But I'm going to show you a layout today. So we'll select apply a layout here. I'm going to just choose one of the responsive ones. So I'll just go ahead and do responsive basic, for example, and then we'll select apply. And now we have our layout. So again, you're going to customize this and make it your own. So starting here on the right-hand side, we got a couple features here. Let's just say we get to this point and we want to rename our email template, or we want to change the campaign. Well, we select basic info, It takes us right back where we started. You make your change and select save. So without even having to leave the editor, you can do that. Then you have this option to delete right here if you wanted to. We also can toggle this to make it full screen. And let's just say you need more room over here on the side. So say we select this section right here and we want to make changes. All your changes is done over here in the content editor. So we can slide this arrow to the left, to make more room if you need more room, or back to the right. And here, this is kind of what we call our WYSIWYG editor. So what you see is what you get. So if you don't see a particular font you want or a particular size, then it's not going to be anywhere else. You'd have to bring in custom code if you want to do that. But just be careful with doing that because you never know how it's going to render across different email clients. So definitely want to make sure you're testing, test before you actually send out your emails to actual prospects. Now we have emojis over here. So if you're into that, you can add emojis in your emails. But one of the things I like to show here is merge fields. So this is how we can get more personalized in our emails. And I'm sure, most of you have seen this, but if we just delete what Pardot has in here and we start typing up an email, let's just say we wanted to say hello and we wanted to have that person's first name listed there. So I'm sure you've got emails before where it said, hello, Jermaine, or hello, whoever, it was going to. So that's what merge fields does for you. So if we select here, and if you're going to notice, we have a lot of different options. So we can bring in account information as we have on that prospect. We can bring in recipients information. So any fields that you are tracking or custom fields too, we could pull in. I'm just going to do first name because that's one of the popular ones here. So I'll go ahead and select insert. And you see now it says hello recipient first name. And I'll just throw a little comma behind there. And then you could just continue to type up the body of your email. So definitely recommend using merge fields. But one thing to be careful, just make sure you have that information about the prospect, right? Because if you don't have someone's first name, it's just going to say hello blank, and it's not going to display anything. But there is backups that you can do in Pardot. There's HTML language you can add in here that has like if, then, else statements. So you can have a backup just in case you don't have a first name. All right, so then you have these other different editing options. I'm sure you've seen most of these options here where you can do the font size, heading, things like that. And then we'll go ahead and do a save. So definitely recommend saving periodically because you never know when something's going to happen or you get kicked out or you accidentally close out the tab. Then at least you know you have your draft saved. So that's how you save a draft down here. Now, if we click on this green button, that takes us back here where we can put a subject for our email. So this is the subject line for your email. Or if we go to the history tab, Pardot is taking snapshots in the back end. So you see it's doing it quite frequently, every other minute or so. So if you need to go back to a previous change you made, then you kind of have to rely on these snapshots. So there's no undo or redo button in this builder. But in the new Lightning drag and drop builder, there is an undo and redo button. Now, one thing to note, these snapshots are only available for this session. So if you do save this and go out, start doing something else, and then you come back in and edit this template, these snapshots are not going to be here. So it's only for this session. And then if we select the info tab, go back, let's just say we're working with this layout and we decide it's really not working for us. We want to switch it up. Maybe we want to choose a 2-column. Well, you can do that. You can go back and select apply a layout and you just choose another layout. Now, if you do that, though, it is like starting from scratch. So it will not bring over the changes you previously made to the other template. All right, then here in the middle, you just click on the different sections. You don't make any changes here. All your changes is made over here on the right-hand side in the content editor. Now in the middle, you do, depending on which layout you choose, you can further customize this. We can duplicate this row if we want. So you see we got double. You can remove it. You can move it up or down on your layout. So you do have some other options here. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. And then here we have a little short teaser section, Pardot calls it. So this is the pre-header of your email. So you know how in some email clients you can kind of see a preview of the email before you open it? Well, that's what this section is for. And then you also have this section where you can have it to where they can view it online. So they can open it up in a browser if they're having trouble viewing it in their email client. Now, you don't have to put anything in these sections if you don't want to. It's not required, but it does come in useful sometimes. And then down here at the bottom, we have social media links. Now with these layouts, this is not linking to your social media or anything like that. You have to hyperlink your own social media links but this is just giving you like an idea of how it would look if you did have it hyperlinked. Now, the only thing that Pardot requires you to have in these templates is a link to your unsubscribe page or your email preference page. One or the other. You don't have to have both. If you do want to include both, that's fine too, but you only have to have one or the other. That's the only thing that Pardot requires. Everything else can pretty much be customized to your liking, and you can put whatever you want in here in your email templates. Just try to follow, email best practices and stuff so you're less likely to get flagged for spam and stuff like that. You want to make sure your emails are getting delivered to the inbox. All right, then we went over the HTML tab, but just to go over it again, here's the full custom HTML template here. So if you're good with HTML, you can just come in here and make changes to your template. You don't have to rely on the editor. But if you're not good with HTML, then you're probably going to be in the editor creating your template. Then the preview section, this is how we can easily test out our merge fields without having to send the email to ourselves. So you see here, it says recipient's first name. Well, when I choose a prospect here, we'll just say Andy Young, for example. Now it says, hello, Andy. So quick way to test out your merge fields with the preview. Then the next tab over, we have the text. So you have a text version also. So you want to sync from HTML. So don't forget to do this step. And you want to clean this up. So I know it comes over all kind of wonky looking, but you would clean up all the white space and make it look like a nice text email just in case someone receives your text version, right? So clean this up, then you would save it. And then I'm going to move over to the sending tab. Now, you don't have to go in this order, but normally if you have different senders on your emails, you probably want to test it to make sure it's going to come from the person that you specify. So before you do the testing, it's probably wise to go over here and set up your sender information. So far as sender, we have a couple different options here. We got general user. So maybe you have like an info at email address or support at or marketing at. Just make sure, though, if you put the email here, the domain you've authenticated in your domain management. So that's when you have to do the technical setup. So you don't want to just put in any random email domain here like a Yahoo or a Gmail. Make sure it's the domain you've authenticated. We also have the option to do specific user. So maybe you want to say, all right, Jermaine's going to be the sender on the email. We can do assigned user. This is whoever is assigned that user in Pardot. So basically the lead or contact owner. That's who it's going to look like it's coming from. Then we have the option to do account owner. This is who owns the account in Salesforce. That's what it'll look like it's coming from. So those are probably the only 4 fields you're going to see. The prospect CRM user custom field, that's something I created custom that doesn't come out of the box. So you probably won't see this, so I won't cover that. But these are the 4 main ones right here that you will see in your Pardot board. And then as far as the replies, if the replies are going to go to whoever the sender is, you don't have to put anything here. This is only if you want the replies to go to someone different, and you have pretty much the same options here. And then here we have advanced subject composer. So depending on the edition of Pardot you have, you may or may not see this insert dynamic content. You have to be using plus edition or higher. So if you're on growth edition, you're just going to see insert merge fields. So we can get even more personalized, and we can put recipient first name in the subject line if we wanted to. So definitely take a look at that. And then we could also add emojis if you're into emojis. We can put that in here. Then on the right-hand side, we could hover over for a preview. And then down here in the bottom, we could do save, draft, or publish. Now I'm going to get an error, and I'm going to do this on purpose because I want to show you what might happen if you have account owner or assigned user here. So if we try to publish this template, you see it flags us with an error. It's telling us we must either have a specific user or general user as the last option. Basically, we need a backup. The reason being, what if there's no account owner? Or what if this person is not assigned anyone, right? They might just live within Pardot without being assigned, without syncing to Salesforce. So you would have to have a backup. So in this case, we could do specific user, and we'll say Jermaine. So now Jermaine would be the backup in case there's no account owner or in case there's no assigned user. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and save this, and then I'm gonna move over to the testing tab. All right, so this is why I added that prospect record, and I added that prospect to the internal test list, because this is the one true way to kind of test here. So we select our internal test list, and you do have to be a prospect in the database in order to get added to this test list. And then you would select send to test list. And then if this was real, and in your org, you would see like the people's email addresses that actually received the test. That'll show up here. You can also put in an individual email. So if you wanted to put in your own personal, Gmail or Yahoo email or someone's other email address, you can just manually add it here. But if you notice here, it tells you it will not populate merge fields or rewrite links to be tracked if you send it that way. So the best way to send it is using this test list. Now, this rendering feature, this only comes with plus, addition, or higher. So if you don't have that and you have growth, then you're not going to see this. But for the people who do, this rendering test is pretty nice. So what it does is it will let you know how your email template will render across different email clients like Outlook, different versions of Outlook, 2016, 2019, or Gmail, iPhone, Android, Apple Mail. And sometimes it also gives you like a little spam analysis too. So this is definitely a good tool to use when you're doing your testing. So if you have this feature, definitely recommend taking advantage of it. All right, then we'll go back to our sending tab. And now we'll just pretend like the template is ready to go. We're ready to use it, and we would publish it. Now, before we publish it, there's one thing I kind of missed. If we go back to the building, I didn't kind of go over best practices with images. So if you notice here, we have this image section. So if you want to add an image on the far right-hand side, you just double click, it pops up this box, and you would select upload, and you can upload the file wherever you have it saved on your computer. Okay, then once you've uploaded it though, the next time you come build out a template, that image is going to be here. So you don't have to worry about uploading it again. So once you do upload files or images, it's stored and it's hosted within Pardot now. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, that's not the case when we get to the new drag and drop builder. Your images are not stored in Pardot. So it's going to be a big difference. So we go back to the image info tab. Here's all the images that I've already uploaded. You see they're here. Now, you don't have to wait till you get to this point to upload your images and files. On the content tab, there is a files tab that you can go in and pre-upload all your images and files that you're going to have in your template. So you can go do that. So I'm just going to choose, let's say, our Cypress logo. Now, you also have the option to do a custom URL. So if your image is hosted or sourced somewhere else and you have that URL, you can just add it here. I'm going to go ahead and choose one of the images here. Now, as far as alternative text, is best practice to have, because what if someone has a screen reader or they are blocking HTML images for some reason? You want to identify what this image is supposed to be. So in this case, I could do like company logo or something like that. As far as the width, do not go over 600 on your widths. So keep that under 600. You should be good. And if you want to manually adjust your height, you see this lock right here? It's closed. If we open it, now we can manually adjust our height. But if you close this lock, Pardot is going to adjust the height back according to the width. And then you have some H space and B space here. You can add padding and stuff like that, margin. All right, we select OK. And now we brought in an image. So now we'll pretend like our email template is good to go. We're ready to publish it and ready to use it. So we select the publish to template. And now that takes us to this page. So we can see our HTML version. We can see our text version. And then down here at the bottom, we could see what it's available for and who created it and when it was updated. And then up here, we can see who our sender is, and we can see our subject of our email. Now, let's say we want to go back in and make changes. Well, you just select edit email template. That takes you back to the builder, and you can make your changes. The copy feature, this is a nice feature that can save you some time. So let's just say we were going to go in and create a similar template, but we were just going to swap out the images or maybe some text, but it was pretty much going to be the same. We select copy, which is the same as clone. So on the Salesforce side, it's called clone, and Pardot, it's called copy. So we can copy this one, go in, make our changes, rename it, and we didn't even have to start from scratch. So definitely a time saver there for you. And what a lot of people do is they'll have like a master template that maybe includes the header and footer that they always use. And then they would just go in and have their users clone that master template and then change out the body or whatever changes you need to make. That way you're not messing with the master template. Okay, so that is the classic email builder. So now we're going to move over to the new Lightning drag and drop builder. And that's going to be found on the email templates tab. Now, one little tip here, if you get confused, which I have a lot of customers do, the email templates tab has this little drop down next to it. That identifies it's a Salesforce tab. And so the new Lightning drag and drop builder is built on Salesforce Lightning. So If you're on this tab, you know you're on the new Lightning Builder. If you're on this tab, you see that it doesn't have a drop down. That identifies you're in the Classic Builder. So a quick way to identify. All right, so in order to create a new email template, you select this new email template on the right here. But before we do that, on the left, we have recent email templates we've accessed, the ones that were created by you, self-explanatory there. Private means usually I only will be able to see it and use it. Public means everyone can see it. And then all is going to be all your templates. You can also create a folder, which I definitely recommend because this tab is for Salesforce Lightning email templates also. So in your org, you might see some Salesforce email templates listed here. So to separate your marketing stuff, I would recommend creating a new folder and call it, Pardot email templates or marketing, whatever you want to call it. Probably have several different folders too to house all your different email templates, right? Especially if you're going to be having a lot of email templates, you probably don't want to put them, all under the same folder, right? Because it would be harder to find things later. So we select new email template. Now we give our email template a name. Sorry, this test email demo. Related entity type, don't even change this. Just leave this as none. This is really not related to Pardot. A description, sometimes it's good practice to have that if you want to have a description for your email template. Folder, you see it's in private. So if you want other people to be able to see it and use it, make sure you put it in a public folder. So I can select public here. The subject, at this point, you might not know the subject of your email or what you want it to be. Well, you don't have to put a subject right now, but let's just say you don't. Before you go send out this email template, Pardot will flag you and let you know you need to put a subject line. So that's pretty good that it will catch it for you. Enhanced letterhead, that's not available for Pardot emails yet, so just ignore that. And then we'll select save. And then we're going to select edit in builder. So that's going to take us to the new drag and drop email builder. And you notice it's going to look a lot different than the classic builder. Now, the very first time you access this builder, there's going to be a little pop-up of a video that kind of shows you how to use the email builder, which I definitely recommend watching. But the next time it's not going to pop up, just like it didn't pop up for me. But if you want to go see that video the next time, then you select the question mark and then you select take a tour. And now we'll open up the video for you. Okay, here in the middle, this is what we call the canvas. And then on the left, you have your components. So all you have to do is drag your components from the left and add them over here in the middle. Now, before we do that, over here on the right, we have this pre-header section. So just like I showed you in the classic builder, this is where you could see a little preview of the email before you open it. Then we have the style button here, and we could change the background color. If you know your hex code, you can put them in here. If not, you can just select the color. So let's just say we wanted this blue or purple. We select done, and now we have that as the background. Let's say we make a change and don't like it. Here's that undo. Or we want to bring it back, redo. So this is one of the features with this builder that the classic one doesn't have. All right, so let's go ahead and add a component. So over here on the left, we'll just say we're going to add an image, right? A lot of times with your marketing email, there's probably going to be an image at the top, like your company's logo or something. Over here on the right, we have the option to not allow changes. So if you want to lock down this particular row, this is where you would do that. Here's where you can put your image URL if it's hosted somewhere else. Now, if you're going to upload your images, you're going to select add image and you're going to select Salesforce CMS here, okay? Do not select files. And I'm going to repeat that. Do not select files, because if you do and you put Salesforce files in your email, you will not be able to send it out as a Pardot email, and you're not going to know why. And when you get to the email sending part and you don't see your template, you're going to get frustrated and not know why. And Pardot is not going to give you an error or anything. So always choose Salesforce CMS. This is where your images are going to be stored in the future. So you would just select add content, and then you would just upload your image. Now, the next time you come to the CMS, you're not going to have to upload it again. It's going to store it within the CMS. So this is where you're going to put all your images. It's not stored within Pardot. So if you have pre-uploaded files over there in Pardot, they're not going to be accessible here in the CMS. So you're going to have to upload them again. So you would just select upload, and then I'm going to go ahead and just choose one of the files I have here. So our Cypress logo, we select save. And now there it is. Then if we click on the styles tab, we also have the option to change the width. So let's just say we wanted to make it smaller. We can drop it down to 70%, and now you see it's bigger, or we can bring it back to 100%. And then we also have the option to do position. So you can do left, center, right if it was smaller. And you want to change the alignment here. And then you can add margin here. So if we go back to the content tab, we could also hyperlink this image. So I get asked that a lot. Can you hyperlink an image? Yes, you can. Here's where you would do that. So you put the URL here that you want to redirect them to, and they click on your company's logo. They can go to your main website, or they can go to your main website or something like that, or wherever you want to redirect them. All right, let's add another component. Let's just say we want to start typing up the body of our email. So that's what a rich text section is for. So just like the other builder, all your changes are made over here on the right-hand side. You don't really make any changes to your template here in the middle. We can remove this, and again, we can just start typing up an email, and we'll just say welcome, and let's just say we want to do recipient's first name again. Or here's your merge fields. So you select here, and then you would go to recipient, and you can just do a search what you're looking for. So we're looking for first name. We select insert, and now it says welcome recipient's first name. If you need more room over here, that's what these two arrows are for. Now it pops up at you, and you can start typing up your email. So you see you have all the pretty much same editing options you have in the classic builder. You can change the font, the format, the size, things like that. Hyperlink button here. We can even add an image in our rich text section if we want. Just remember, Salesforce CMS, don't do files. And then an HTML source, if you want to bring in like a snippet of HTML code or something like that, you can add that in there. And then you would just select apply and then keep working on your template. So pretty much, again, this is what you have access to for editing options. But if you want to bring in custom fonts and things like that, you can do that with HTML. And there is an HTML component right here. We could add if we wanted to, and you could put in HTML. But if you notice in this builder, we're building row by row. So it's really not ideal to copy and paste a full custom HTML template. If you want to do that, then most people use the classic builder because you saw that it is pretty easy to just copy and paste the HTML. But with this one, not so much so. And also in this HTML component, you are limited to 10,000 characters also. So if we don't like a row and we want to get rid of it, we have the undo button here, or we have this trash can where we could get rid of that. Okay, so we have our HTML. We have our rich text section here. And then let's just say we wanted more columns. So remember in the other builder, you had to choose like a 2-column or 3-column layout. Well, with this builder, we can create our own columns. Very simple. And I'm going to show you how simple it is. And before we do that, just want to state that you see we didn't have any pre-built layouts, right? It didn't prompt us for that when we first created this template. So again, you're pretty much starting from scratch with this builder. And these templates are all responsive, by the way, that you build in this builder. So let's say we wanted some columns here. So we click over here. This first icon right here is your column icon. So let's just say we wanted 3 columns. We got 3 columns now. Say we want to evenly distribute those columns. That's what this button is for. So now we have 3 even columns. So you can slice and dice this the way you want. You can have some text going on over here. You can have a custom button here. You can have an image over here. You can also change the column width. So maybe you want the middle column to be bigger than the other 2 columns. That's what this column width is for. Also, we have padding that we can add around the columns if you want to do that. Then the next component or icon we have here is the duplicate. So we can make a duplicate of this row. If we don't like it, you just undo it. We could also move this column up. That's what this next icon is for. So we can put it above the image, or we could drag it back down and put below. So you can drag your rows up or down on your layout here. And then the trash can, you already seen what that does. That will just delete pretty much the entire row. And then when you're in these different rows, you do have different styling options here. So if you want to change like the background color, you can, which is pretty nice. So instead of changing the background for the full template, now we can just change it right here within the row instead of the full template. Now we do have an option here to view desktop versus phone. So the classic builder doesn't have this option. And then one of the newer features with this builder that people got excited about was the custom button. So, with the other classic, if you've been using that one, there's no button feature. You have to use like a third-party tool or bring in some custom code into your templates to build that button. But with this one, Very easy to build a button and customize it. So I'm gonna show you how easy it is. So our button text, what do you want your button to say? So maybe we have something that says like, learn more. We could also hyperlink it here. So this is someone clicks on the button, it takes them to whatever landing page or URL you specify here. Then under the styles tab is how we further customize it. We could change the font family, the font size. We can even change the font color. So let's just say we want it red for our color. We can change the button color. So let's just say we wanted let's say let's do a nice bright button. So let's do yellow. So we can go here, we select done, and now we have a nice bright yellow button with red words. Again, if you know your hex, you just put in your hex codes here. Corner radius, I like this. So I usually always choose 20 here. So we can round off those corners if we wanted to. Now we got a nice rounded off custom button. And you see, it didn't even take me, what, a minute to customize this button? So very, very easy to use. And this builder is very intuitive. And then for the button size, you can go in and add padding, and then position if you want to do left, center, right, you have that option too. And then save. So definitely want to make sure you're saving because there is no auto save in this builder, and there's no snapshots like the classic builder. So you have to rely on reminding yourself to save periodically here. All right, so we went over pretty much all the components you have over here. We got the button, HTML, image, and rich text. Now let's just say you want a 2-column 1x3 or a 2-column 3x1. Well, you can just drag that layout over here, and it's automatically here for you. And then you can slice and dice this the way you want and add your different components and have different things going on if you want to. Now, in the bottom left, you're probably not going to see this in your org, but these are some custom apps that I've added from the App Exchange that gives you additional functionality in this new builder. So if you do want to explore those, just go to the App Exchange and just type up like Pardot email, do a search for Pardot email, and they'll come up and you can download them. You do have to be an admin in Salesforce though to download that app in the App Exchange. But these are some things you might want to explore. Now I haven't played around with them too much, but one of the features here is you can do a star rating or feedback. So your customers can provide you, 5 stars or 4 stars. You could also embed a video. Not sure really how that works. It's usually not best practice to embed a video right within your email. Usually you want to have that on a landing page or something like that. So have a link that they click on that takes them to the video. But I'm curious to see how this works. I'm gonna play around with it more. But yeah, so these are just some additional custom components. There's not too many out there as of now, but I'm sure as this builder evolves more, that there probably will be a lot of more custom apps that people will design for this email builder. And these are free, by the way, so no charge to install these. All right, so we'll just pretend like we got our template the way we want. We'll go ahead and save, and then we'll back out of here. And now we're going to be able to see a preview of our email template. So we have the clone option. So in Pardot, remember it's called copy, but on the Salesforce side, it's called clone. So we could clone this one, go in, rename it, make our tweaks, save it, and we didn't even have to start from scratch. If we need to go back in and edit, you're going to select edit in builder, and then you have the option to delete. So one thing I want to point out before I end here today is if you see this box checked, contain Salesforce file, that's a no-no. That means you put Salesforce files in your Pardot email template. And when you go over to the email content tab to send out this template, you're not going to see this template. And you're not going to know why. It's not going to be an error. So definitely recommend that you don't put Salesforce files in there. You use the CMS and you make sure that this box is not checked. And that's pretty much all I had today. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.